the skeletal and muscular systems. The goal of this presentation is to learn how the skeletal and muscular systems contribute to the life of an organism. The objectives are to identify functions of these systems, to identify structures of these systems, to identify processes associated with these systems. Dr. John R. Blanton, Jr., Assistant Professor of Animal Science, has over 8 years research experience in the areas of growth and development with comparative studies between humans and animals, and has presented at international medical and education conferences. Muscle biologist and 4-time national championship collegiate meat judging coach, Dr. Mark F. Miller, Professor of Animal Science at Texas Tech University, has over 21 years teaching experience and a national reputation in muscle and meat science.
Most animals have a skeletal system that is very similar to humans. All skeletal systems consist of 2 major components. The first component are the bones of the axial skeletal system, and then there's the second component, which is the bones of the appendicular skeletal system. When we look at the axial skeletal system, the first bones that we see are the bones of the skull. Immediately following the bones of the skull are the bones of the vertebral column. The first bones within the vertebral column are the cervical vertebrae, followed by the thoracic vertebrae, then the lumbar vertebrae, followed by the sacral vertebrae, and finally the coccygeal vertebrae. Also within the axial skeleton are the bones of the rib cage and of the sternum. When we look at the appendicular skeletal system, there are 2 major components to it: the bones of the hind limb and the bones of the forelimb. When we look at the bones in the forelimb, the first one we'll find is the scapula, immediately followed by the humerus, the radius, the ulna, then the carpal bones, the metacarpus, and finally the phalanges or digits. When we look at the bones of the hind limb, the first bones we'll find are those of the pelvis, followed by the femur, then the patella, the tibia and the fibula, the tarsals, the metatarsus, and finally the phalanges or the digits. While humans and most animals share a similar skeletal system, there are some small but significant differences. For example, the human skeletal system is upright and is meant to walk on 2 legs, and is what we call a biped, whereas a cow would walk on all 4 legs and is a quadruped.